everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you how to make a standard, simple army soldier out of gum paste. And if you see me using any tools or supplies you can use, check the link in the description down below. It should be able to help you out. Now to start my army guy, I am going to start with his legs. I'm rolling out some kind of olive drabby green, nice and long as you saw, fold it in half and cut off the legs to the length I want. I'm running a lollipop stick down the center, and I'm putting a couple of seams on the sides with my knife. I'm going to roll a seam around the to make cuffs, I should say, of each leg. And now I'm adding some water between the legs to kind of sandwich everything onto that lollipop stick. He's a little bit on the smaller side, so I don't have it going down the legs themselves. I just want it to kind of set up in the back there, and he's going to face forward so you won't see it. I'm adding some pressure marks just to make his pants look a little bit more uneven. And yeah, put them aside. There you go. I'm going to take a piece of gum paste here that I have just a wad of. I'm pinching around the outside of one end of it, and then I'm going to cut off the other end. This is going to become the torso, and it's just a little bit long. I felt like it was too long. But that little part that I flared out, I want it to come down and fold over top of his pants, which it did. As you can see, it just kind of slid right over the top. I put a line down the center of his shirt, and now I'm making arms. I'm just rolling out long pieces of that same drab green again. I cut off the two ends, as you see. One is flat and one is bent at an angle. The angle is going to go into the shoulder, and the flat end is now kind of behind his back. You can add hands to it. I have other details that I'm going to add to it that were specific for this little guy, so I'm not going to bother showing you those. But I have his hands, so his arms, so they're bent kind of behind his back, not necessarily standing at attention, but maybe it is. I'm sorry. I don't know this kind of thing, so if I'm messing it up, please forgive me. I'm making his little boots right now, so I just took some brown gum paste, made a big old bean out of it. I'm using my knife to make a line around the bottom for a sole, and then a line across for the toe of the boot, a little bit of water, and just slide it right on under. I've got him sticking in a piece of styrofoam, because you know how I love my styrofoam. Now I'm going to add a neck. I have some just beige gum paste, wrapped it around my lollipop stick that's sticking out there, and because my giant hands were in the way, I couldn't show you. I used scissors to trim off the extra in the back, and then I trimmed off the lollipop stick. Now I'm going to give his shirt a collar. I have this kind of crescent shape sort of that I then fold in half, wrap around, see it's way too long, trim off the extras with my scissors, just like that on either end at an angle a little bit. And then I'm going to reconnect it around so that it comes together right there in the front. And now his shirt was a little bit more complete. This is going to be his head. It was a big ball and it was too big, so I trimmed it a little bit. And now I'm going to leave the top flat though. I'm going to put a couple little eye sockets in with my ball tool. And I'm leaving the top of his head flat because I'm going to add a hat to it. And I've mentioned in other videos, I really stink at putting hats on things. So what I do is I cheat. And I just cut the tops of the heads off and then stick a hat right on top. And then it looks so good. It just works. It's my little cheat code. I took a ball of gum paste on either side of his head, pressed down in the center there to make his ears. It's just a nice little easy hack thing to do. And a little ball of gum paste in the middle of his face for his nose, kind of pinching it into place to make it look a little bit more proper and not quite as round and buttony as it originally was. I'm filling his eye sockets with a little ball of gum paste, a little ball of white gum paste, excuse me. Press it into shape. Make sure it doesn't stick out. You don't want your soldier to be too bug-eyed or anything. Now this circle is going to be the brim of his hat, so it is about the size of his head. I'm pulling it out to the front, of course, so it sticks out the front. I bent it up with my nail a little bit, and now I'm going to add the top part of the hat. This is thicker, maybe 2 or 3 times thicker. And I just cut kind of a nice round plug out of it. It's the same size as the brim. Now when you plop it on top, as you see, it doesn't sit quite perfect, so you just press it down. Make sure you have a little water on there until the seams come together, and now he's wearing his hat, and it looks like it's actually on his head. See, that was my little, I'm going to cut the part of his head off. 2 little pieces of brown gum paste right there, a little bit of water. Put them in place. Now he's got his eyebrows. The picture of the soldier that I was working off of had a very, very, very tight cut, so there's no hair to speak of that's showing. I'm using my X-Acto knife to make a little smile on him. And now I'm going to show you how I did the camo effect. I just took some dark green, juniper green I think it was. As you see, I just dabbed it kind of randomly there in a patch. I'm using a sponge, a dry sponge, and just stamping it basically. I stamped it onto the glass that I work on, and then I'm just patting all over him, and it made him look all camouflagey. Now I need to finish up his clothes. I'm going to take some dark green here, then going to cut out a couple of rectangles, and those are going to become the, I guess they're shoulder pockets on his uniform. There's one on each upper arm. So that's what I'm putting on there. Now I'm going to take a little piece of white gum paste, very small little white rectangle that I rolled out really thin as I could with it staying intact. And I'm going to put it on his right arm to make the American flag patch that's on his shoulder. Okay, but before I do that, I'm starting my other food coloring marker work. I'm putting a couple little marks on the hat and the shirt. I'm writing U.S. Army and then the name on the other side. I kind of outline them here because I couldn't tell from the picture I was working on if they were on patches, if they were sewn to the uniform, if it was on a pocket. I couldn't quite tell, but by lightly outlining them, it seemed to really make a nice effect without being like, oh, that's deliberately what you're doing here. As you saw, I used brown to give him some pupil, or irises. I'm using my blue and red markers to fill in the little white patch on his shoulder. I wanted to give it a little time to set up. Putting a little dot of black in each eye. And there you go. Just a nice, basic, simple American Army soldier. So I hope you found my little video helpful. Please like and subscribe, even if you didn't, because it still does help me out. And I have a ton of other videos out there, so please check those out as well. And as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.